Don't. Told you. Some people in my life have accused me of being stupid. I don't agree. I'm just unlucky when using my brain. Like the time when me and a girl I used to date were going to Italy. Being responsible, and certainly not stupid, adults, we arrived 3 hours early to the airport. After going through security, we ended up by the gate area. Our gate was here. We wanted to be close to it, but being Swedish and thus terrified of strangers and unsolicited social interactions, we opted to sit just around the corner here. About 2 hours later, I peeked around the corner just to see how much longer until they started boarding. Long story short, I had to pay for train tickets across the country to another airport and new flight tickets. The whole ordeal cost me about $700 extra, and she broke up with me as soon as we came back to Sweden. Easy mistake to make, not stupid, just unlucky thinking. But just to be sure, I asked the internet. Oh. Alright, I get it. I said stop! Jeez, what the fuck? Let me start off by saying, I was never a cool kid. And as a teenager, I was never invited to parties. Instead, my friends and I would spend our weekends playing board games. Do you know what you'll find at parties that you won't find in a sweaty pubescent board game basement? Alcohol. That's right, thanks to our exceptional ability to insta-repel cool people, we didn't partake in any underage drinking, as we were never even in a situation where it was offered to us. Why am I explaining this? Because when I did finally try the forbidden potion in my 20s, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Let me introduce you to 24-year-old Jonas. 24-year-old Jonas is currently at his friend's birthday party, and is absolutely shit-faced.
Du är live, Jonas.
For some unknown reason, he has just challenged the birthday boy to a push-up contest and won. Very epic. He's on a high. He's pumped. He feels like he can conquer the world. And most certainly, he can execute perfect form handclap push-ups.
Okej, ska vi köra?
Ja, kör bara.
Klara, färdiga. Ja, jag är så jävla tung.
What a man! The guys at Muscle Beach wish they had your technique.
Bakom ryggen då.
Let me just point out that this is not an added sound effect. That's the actual sound of my face hitting the floor at 1 billion miles an hour. The next day, I woke up remembering nothing. The only thing I knew was that my face hurt a lot. I'm not exaggerating when I say I've never felt such pain before in my life. It's a miracle that I didn't break my nose. 24-year-old Jonas, you stupid. For this next one, let's rewind the time a bit. I was a typical Swedish 12-year-old, full of hope, on a milk-heavy diet and wearing clogs. Most children at the time were into one of 3 things: Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, or Counter-Strike 1.6. All fine choices, if you cringe. Being of high intellect, I, however, prefer the finer things in life. Donald Duck. And let me be clear, I wasn't just into Donald Duck. I was severely into Donald Duck, okay? I was subscribed to the weekly comics and had hundreds of them. I had all the collector's volumes of the first ever magazines from 1948 to 1961. And whenever I signed my school assignments, I signed them like this. So when I say I was into Donald Duck, you know I'm not f***ing around. And when I say that on June 9th that year, Disney Channel was hosting an all-day Donald Duck special for his 70th Jubilee, you better believe I was gonna be plastered in front of the TV all day. Except, we didn't have cable TV. Thus, we didn't have Disney Channel. But wait, I had a plan. Earlier that year, the cranky, children-hating elderly couple who lived in the house behind ours had moved out, and in their stead, a young couple and their 6-year-old son Sven had moved in. And wouldn't you believe it? They had Disney Channel. The day before the Jubilee, our families were having a barbecue together in their garden. After dinner, the adults cracked open a few cold ones, while me and Sven were left to our own devices. Sven? Yeah? You have Disney Channel, right? Yeah. Do you know that tomorrow it's the Donald Duck special? Yeah. If I leave this tape in your VCR, can you make sure to leave the TV recording tomorrow before going to school? Yeah. If I can spit in your hair. What? I'll do it, if you let me spit in your hair. I was so close! The only thing standing between me and 12 hours of non-stop Donald bliss was this snotty evil little turd and his freakish desire to spit in my hair. I've been looking forward to this Disney Channel special for months, but come on! There's gotta be a limit! I wasn't gonna let this 6-year-old bully me and walk all over me like this. No way! Absolutely no way! Fine. So let a little bastard spit in my hair. Big deal. My integrity might have been shattered, but at least Donald would be immortalized on my VHS tape. I was just about to set everything up when Sven, the monster child, spoke again. It wasn't good enough. I need to spit again. Okay. So I let this psychotic pest spit in my hair again. I don't know what made the second spit better than the first, but Sven was finally satisfied. The Jubilee TV special got recorded, and that VHS tape is still one of my most prized possessions. So I did succeed in the end. But now that I'm an adult, I can't help but think, why the heck did I just ask his parents to tape it instead? It's not like they would have bullied me, a child, for liking Donald Duck. 12-year-old Jonas, you're a f***ing idiot. Alright, let's do one more story about me lacking a brain, and we'll be done with it. Back when I was in second grade in elementary school, we had something called show and tell. It was the very last thing on the schedule every Monday. The teacher would gather all the kids around a big rug on the floor, and we would take turns to share whatever we wanted. Some kids talked about fun things they've done over the weekend, some kids wanted to show a favorite toy, or maybe a souvenir from a trip, and if you didn't feel like sharing anything at all, that was also okay. I was the proud owner of a huge plush wolf, or, well, as an adult I've now realized it wasn't that big. But when you're 8 years old and roughly the size of a Coke bottle, that thing was massive. Anyways, at this point I brought Mr. Wolfie several times to show and tell, and the novelty factor was starting to wear off. The crowd was getting stale, and I needed some new material. You might think that show and tell was just a fun and friendly activity helping children to bond. If so, you're a fool. Behind the innocent facade, this was a life and death social contest and all-out war. A time for mind games, trickery, and deceit in pursuit of fame and glory. In my everlasting quest to claim the title Most Interesting Kid of the Week, I had deduced the following, saying that not much happened during your weekend was an easy F-tier story and would cause the rest of your classmates to instantly erase your existence from their minds. Going shopping with your parents in the bigger neighboring city was D-tier. However, if on said trip you also visited McDonald's and you brought back the toy from your Happy Meal to school, you were definitely looking at A-tier. We didn't have McDonald's in my town, okay? It was rare! Showing off a suntan from an abroad vacation was B-tier. Exciting to have traveled the world, but it ain't no McDonald's. But the one thing that would obliterate any other student and instantly shoot you into S-class, making you forever remembered as a legend, was breaking your arm or leg and showing up to school with a cast. Girls would swoon over you and say, "Aw, poor baby." And all the boys would queue up for miles for a chance to write obscenities on your cast with a permanent marker. Unfortunately for me, I'd never even been remotely close to breaking a bone, and following the declining popularity of Mr. Wolfie, I was getting desperate. So I called up Magnus Samuelsson, the 1998 World's Strongest Man champion. 5 minutes later, he showed up at our house and broke my tiny prepubescent body into a million pieces. Okay, obviously I didn't do that. I didn't have a phone. So I wrote him a letter, and 2 weeks later he showed up at our house and broke my tiny prepubescent body into a million pieces. Okay. That was also a joke. We didn't have postal service. But I did have this sick turtle secret lair toy set. The sewer pipe was detachable, and my thin, fragile nerd arm could easily slide in. Wrap some bandage tape around it, and bada bing, bada boom, your boy had a broken arm and was ready to mingle. Ha ha! Oh god, I was such a sado. Anyways, I showed up to school in my super legit cast on Monday morning. I remember being giddy all day from excitement, counting down every minute until show and tell. In hindsight, the teacher definitely suspected something. For one, she would have obviously received a phone call from my parents beforehand if I had actually broken my arm. Thankfully, she didn't call me out, and the rest of the class were all pretty impressed.
Damn.
Jonas Frisk, Class 2B, legend. It had a pretty nice ring to it. Now, here's where the stupid comes in. I had not thought about the fact that when you actually break your arm, you'll be wearing that cast for weeks. It didn't hit me until the next day during lunch in the school cafeteria, at which point I had already spent half the day with a fully operating arm in front of the entire school. I mentally prepared myself for the inevitable moment when a student would realize and call me out like that dude in Family Guy.
You're a phony!
But no one noticed. No one asked about it. No one addressed it in any way, shape, or form ever again. No one cared. Aw, tiny Jonas. You thought people actually knew you existed. So, what's the takeaway from all this? Well, if this guy with an IQ of -36 can make it through childhood and grow up to become a somewhat functioning adult, you'll probably be alright.